This is the first go. This is our first attempt. We got a great lineup. The pilot episode. Thank you, Shrimpsy. We got a great lineup here of guests. I'm very excited to have them. So thank you guys all for being here. We will go through. We will introduce everyone. But before we do that, I just want to give a quick little breakdown here. What exactly is going to go down? What exactly we're trying to do? How big is Tig? Yeah, he's huge. So here's the situation. This is going to be a PUBG podcast, PUBG only. We're going to focus on the game. We're going to grab a couple topics each week, break them down with some special guests. Obviously, we have some great guests here today. We'll go through roughly, let's say, hour and a half tops, something along those lines. Get a little bit of different opinions across the board. We're going to aim to do this once a week, Mondays, maybe Tuesdays. We'll see as time goes on what the best time for this is. And it'll all be right here on twitch.tv/Jabroni. Obviously, the recording will go up on YouTube. It's a podcast, so you can always listen to it. You don't have to be here live if you can't be. That being said, now let's go through. Let's introduce everybody that we have on board. dGon, we're going to start with you, my friend. If you can please give us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, all the info. Please go right ahead.
Sweet. I'm dGon, Daniel Gonzalez. So it's like Jennifer Lopez, J-Lo, dGon, first letter, last syllable. That's how I got that. My hood friend in middle school gave that to me, so it's stuck since then. I used to cast. I got in esports about 4 years ago. Big break was over at Riot. I casted for the LCS for a split. I was the not white guy on the broadcast, and that was a big deal for me. But I was only there for about three months. And after that, I worked with the Golden State Warriors, where I talked to a lot of players about possibly acquiring them as an esports team. We were looking at different properties there. I was doing management for the League of Legends team, but I would get a lot of that stuff. And then this year I went back to full-time casting. And since then I've been doing a lot of the NPL shows. So I started with Head to Head. It's just such a great show, Head to Head. And since then moved on over to casting NPLC, where NPLC and pregame loot, where I basically have casted all of your guys' top plays. I definitely got to learn a lot through Hypoc, good old Michael Hypoc Robbins.
Yeah.
And so I'm just excited to be here and kind of give, I think, a little bit of an outsider's view, given I've done a lot outside of the PUBG space, as well as like maybe some more of the technical aspect of things in terms of why we do what we do for content.
Yeah, so I think, first of all, thanks for being here. I think that's one of the focuses here that I want to try and do is get people, not only players, but anybody, like, we're all pretty much mutually invested in this game. You know what I mean? Where everybody's pretty much on board. We want the game to do well, and I'd love to get different input and stuff. Tickleton's over there lagging out. There he is. Now he's back. He looks good. He's perfect. But seriously, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Contenders has been nuts. You've done a great job casting, so it's been awesome to watch. Now, Drass, my little Canadian baby boy, if you can please introduce yourself.
I'm Cedric DrasseL Lessard. So DrasseL is just my last name backwards. I started on H1Z1. Now I'm here on PUBG, on Ghost Gaming. Originally on LG, actually, with the famous Ninja. We won Gamescom. So I've been here kind of since the start. Now I'm on Ghost Gaming, and Jabroni has to deal with me every day. He's coaching, managing. I'm a big pain in the ass. But yeah, I stream daily on Twitch. I mix the competitive side of things with streaming the game daily. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
DrasseL, I love you. You're the best. I like that you kept the theme and wore the PUBG partner sweater.
Yeah.
That'll be great.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah, I'm excited to bring that up later. Because that is going to be on topic, and I love it. So that's great. Now, please, Sharky, the most expensive outfit wearer in the NPL, please
What the?
introduce yourself, brother.
My name is Mike, or my in-game name is Sharky, and I play PUBG for Tempo Storm.
There
That's
you
it.
go.
Yeah.
Enough said.
There he is.
Everyone
My
knows.
man. A man of few words, but yeah, Sharky, thank you for joining us. Great to have you. I want to make sure that, we get people who are, of course, competing in Pro League on both fronts. And on top of that, Tempo on fire. 8 wins so far in the NPL for this past weekend. So absolutely crushing it. Only team at 300 points. Pretty fucking nuts. Now, brother Tiggleton, the Aussie, pretty hot in the NPL right now. Pretty hot commodity there for the Soniqs. Please introduce yourself.
James or Tigleton. I'm Australian, and this is my first phase in the NPL, but I've been grinding this game for a while.
All right, yeah, you might know him. There's a lot of clips that pop up of Tig. There's a lot of interesting stream clips that they've been showing, especially during NPL right beforehand. They've been putting them up. It's been quite an adventure. But thank you for being here. I appreciate it. We get a little Australian in the mix.
I can say Tiggs is a fan of the OGNers. They are OGNers are a fan of Tiggs, which is why his
they're hilarious.
Pop on up.
They made me well. They do it well.
They really, really like you. And I think yesterday we were watching beforehand and I was dying. I was literally like, it was absolutely great. The OGN's put on a good job of showing all those clips. Now, my old friend, one of the first people I've ever met in PUBG back in, I don't even know, I guess 2017. The legend himself, formerly Optic, now Liquid 17. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Tanner. I go by 17. Currently the coach of Liquid. In the past, player for, as you said, Optic, as well as a little stint with Team Secret. Only player that I know of to be disqualified from 2 events. So through no fault of my own.
What a legend! What a guy!
No fault of my own at all. But yeah, that's played a lot of PUBG. Not 17 years old, contrary to popular belief. 26 years old. Prior to this, I spent 5 years in the United States Air Force, and then went full time with PUBG in 2017, and been doing esports related events ever since.
I have to say, I'm pretty sure you're like the most traveled player, right? Like you have to be.
I played on 4 different continents last year, so I don't think anyone else did that. Yeah, it was. It's been a blast, and looking forward to what's next. And also, props to you. Have possibly one of the best historic calls of all time over one of my clips. That is healing in the North George Blue Zone for hours.
Yeah, that was the best. That was back in the day, back in the good old days of PUBG, where you could just heal. You could just heal through everything. Yeah, that was great. And their 17
and we got it fixed. That's the most important thing.
And
the game fixed.
Their 17 was in North George, first aid after first aid, while the game ended in Millie. What an adventure that was. But guys, thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. Please enjoy yourselves. Feel free to, be a pain in the ass, just whatever. If let's just have a good time. We're just gonna talk some PUBG, some random topics. On that note, bring up the first thing here. All right, PUBG's been out for, I don't know, it's like 2-ish years. Since then, obviously, when it first came out, it popped off on Steam. Was the most popular game streamed. Everybody was playing it. Everybody was watching it. Since then, as most games do, we've dropped off a little bit. Losing some players, games getting less popular, new games coming out, taking some players. There's a lot going on over that time. The game's developed. It's way different than it once was. Now, the topic of conversation is more or less a brainstorming session on what exactly we can do, needs to be done, should be done, or has been done to get new players into the game. And not only that, get new players to stay, to play, to experience PUBG and be like, oh shit, this is super fucking fun. I'm having an awesome time here and I want to keep playing this game. And I don't know if anyone wants to just jump out right away and grab something that you think could be a game changer or something like that. But there's a lot of other games that clearly have had success. Fortnite's a great example. Everybody plays it. But here in the West, North America especially, PUBG's not really popping off when it comes to player base. So what can be done to alter that in some way? Or are we somehow dead in the water here? Because, you know, there something's got to give here where there's a lot going on. And, you know, they're updating. There's been new maps. There's been so many different changes to the game, new guns. You know, we have the survival pass. And maybe the survival pass is a great example of somewhere to start. You know, it's what they announced last week. Everybody jumped on board and was like, yo, it's ranked. And then instantly they were like, no, it's not ranked, bro. Like, stop, it's not. And they were telling us about the new survival pass. And is that something for you? Let's say you're a new player, you're an outsider looking in. If you see the survival pass, something like, oh, cool, I have stuff to grind for now. Is that something that's going to keep you playing a little bit longer?
I mean, a couple like obvious ideas that have been brought up but haven't quite come to fruition are things like the return of a solid ranked mode, free to play, which again is an issue because of like cheaters, and the anti-cheat at the time of release wasn't very stable. I don't know
Right.
how much it's improved since then, but those are like basic things that can definitely not only increase the original player base, but keep players wanting to compete and wanting to prove themselves, like, you know, the early 2017 leaderboard days. So that's kind of like two things that I think right off the bat would definitely at least help. Couldn't hurt.
Now, is free to play viable? Like, is it truly viable for PUBG to go free to play? Because obviously other games do it. You see the Fortnite system where it's a free to play game and they make all their money through the skins and everything like that. Their skins are awesome. They have the emotes. They have everything. Is it viable for PUBG to make that switch? Because obviously we started off with some weak skins. Now they're getting better. But can we do that? Is that something that you guys think they can truly do? Even if it's like free to play weekends or something. Like, is something like that going... Do you think it'll help actually bring in enough new players that will stick to the game in the given state, let's say?
To be honest, I think so. I think that you're looking at the player base that started off at 3 million back in January 2018. And then in 2019, every December and January, when it becomes a gift or there's a discount on the game, that's when you see a bump in player base. But since then, it's a constant bleed downwards. And I think the big thing that PUBG had was, as a game, as the mechanics, it was so solid and realistic that it was fun. That's what makes it fun. You want to go, like, I don't know, jump off like a billion feet, go play Apex and slide down things. If you want like what looks realistic but isn't realistic, go play Modern Warfare and wait for the new COD that comes out. Fortnite is, you know, for Fortnite players, but PUBG has its own subset and has its own identity that it's a solid game. The issue is now getting people to come out and stay out on it. And free to play is something that you can do now that, as you've touched on, the skins are getting better. There is more map variety. The last thing that is missing is ranked. And I can see if like PUBG Core is like waiting to get ranked out, let it play a little bit, see how that does. And then maybe in a year or like a year and a half, then go free to play. But I think there are very clear things that need to be done first that have been suggested to get knocked out first, and that hopefully will lead to higher player base before you go to free to play.
I want to ask a question right now. DrasseL, Sharky, Tig. 3 comp players. All 3 of you, right?
Yeah.
You're not playing competitive. Let's say, hypothetically, you're not playing competitive. Let's say you guys go through, we have a 3-month break there. What keeps you guys playing the game? Like what is the draw, the pull in PUBG that's like, this is the game that I want to play?
Money.
Yeah. Streaming.
Streaming's like the real pull for you guys. I know Tig and Drass, you guys both have been, you know, Drass streams all the time. Tig has been blowing up on stream. Is there something in there that like we clearly need more? We need something to play for. Is like that why everyone dwells on ranked so much?
Yeah.
Yeah. No one cares about the chicken dinner anymore. It's about getting like the 2-piece flyby off a 3-seater bike, because there's no competitive play. It's just all about creating content, and it's like you can only do so much of that. I remember last year, between competitive seasons before NPLC started, I ended up just playing World of Warcraft retail, which is in its worst state, but I just wanted something to grind. I just played that for 2 months instead of PUBG. Like, just because there was no, like, I'd finished the battle pass, there's no ranking system, and I didn't feel like streaming. It was just, there wasn't much reason to play the game for me at that point.
Right.
Yeah, for players that have been playing thousands and thousands of hours, there's definitely not as much excitement as before. For me personally, it's my stream, you know. This is the only reason. Like, if I wouldn't play this game competitively, I don't think I would touch this game at all, because
Yeah.
a lot of the major complaint I get is the loot. And, you know, someone that works all day or whatever, I'm lucky I get to play video games all day as a living. But for someone else that comes home from work, like, do you want to be looting 5 to 10 minutes every game? I think this game reaches out to people around. It doesn't reach out to young players too much. That's why you see the young players go to Fortnite, go to Apex for something more fast-paced. And I think for these people, the loot is the big problem. They don't want to spend their time looting. They want to drop and get into the action right away.
See, that's interesting, because we'll go off that later. We're going to talk about Sanhok a little bit later on and in public games. Now, let's take the survival pass, whatever you want to call it, the survival, whatever ranking thing, where you're trying to get rewards based on surviving in game or doing tasks in game, like looting and things of that nature. Is that something that will make the game, I guess, a little more exciting for a newer player? Is that something that's going to keep somebody, you know, if you pop into PUBG for the first time, and let's be completely honest right now, I go into squad games and there's games where I know 16 players in the lobby. And, you know, if I'm dropping in there and, you know, me and DrasseL are playing and I see Microfry on another team, I see Tig driving around, new players are going to get obliterated. Like, that's what's going to happen. They're going to get destroyed. You know what I mean? And
yeah, Drass, you killed me once. It was great, but shitty because I didn't actually do anything. I didn't even see you.
But it's like, I mean, that's just fact. They're going to get annihilated. And, you know, PUBG, it has a bit of a learning curve in some cases, if you have players kind of jumping in. Is this task system something that can give them enough to play for until they start learning the gun mechanics a little better and they start getting into the game more? Or do you think it's just kind of all smoke and mirrors here and it's not something that's really gonna, you know, drag a player into being like, hey, I need to play another game tonight, or I need to get back on tomorrow to try and get that skin, to try and get that parachute?
So I think it's twofold. Adding in, you know, the small missions here. I think the small missions for now, like, make it for players that are at end game content, like you guys. It gives you something to do, right? It could be like, hey, we're completing these things until ranked comes out. For newer players, it gives them some things to focus on so that they don't have to worry about getting destroyed in game every time. So it feels like they are making progress, although they may be getting, you know, wrecked, you know, by Sharky,
right,
from, you know, across the map or whatever. And so I think it is twofold, but I'm not sure. I do think that it has to be implemented with ranked system. Otherwise, like what DrasseL said, like, he's not sure if he'd be playing if there wasn't a competitive scene in place with stakes, with money on the line, like Sharky said. And so I think you've got to find the balance between ranked and unranked play. And the other issue that you run into is that, what if one doesn't have enough than the other? Then you're worried about queue times, and, you know, no one's playing unranked. Everyone's only playing ranked, and new players, it takes them like 5 minutes to get into a game. Like, that's not a good user experience as well right now. So one thing that they have to worry about, but I can see how the passes in tandem with a ranked system can help prolong for both veterans of the game and newer players.
Okay. Now,
I think.
sorry. No, go, Dress, please.
I think. So I've seen it before with H1Z1 where there's no new players coming in. It's only the people that are very hardcore, dedicated to the game.
And that's how it feels right now. That's how it feels, like, for
yeah.
sure.
Well, it doesn't feel like that to me because like I'm on the top of the food chain, So I don't really know how it feels, down there. But in H1Z1, how would a new player possibly come to H1Z1, try to learn the game when they're just getting destroyed
Right.
constantly? So I think our savior there would just be free to play, where you just get this massive pool
Influx
of
of
new
players.
players,
Right.
that just
Where there's so
kill each
many
other.
that they run into each other enough
Yeah.
that they're not
Yeah.
running into, the people on screen right now and, having an awful time playing the game.
Yeah, and with PUBG's numbers going down, obviously there has to be a reason why it's not free to play yet, but that just seems like almost the solution to help the game. And maybe they're keeping the free to play option for when ranked comes out, so then it can just all come up together really good.
It's actually funny because it's like we talk about the free to play option. It's like, it's about making money. You know what I mean? Like that's what it's about, right? And I think for a year and a half, skins in this game. I mean, I didn't buy anything. Now I definitely spend money on skins. Like I definitely put money into PUBG to get the battle stat skins and things of that nature or whatever, or streamer skins along those lines. So I think now we're getting to that point. But I could understand a fear from them. You're like, okay, free to play, like, nice. Where do we make money? Where's the money coming in? So I could definitely see that being an issue. So on the note of getting new people to play the game, because I think, we can try and stop the bleeding the best we can. But the ultimate goal is getting new people into the game. You got to get new players. You need people to download PUBG for the first time, go in and experience it and enjoy it. Has anyone, any of the five of you, ever seen a PUBG advertisement?
No.
I don't think that's the problem necessarily.
No. I don't either. But I do want to bring this up.
I have.
You
I,
have.
I did. Yeah, I did. It was on. I think it was on. I saw it on Twitch for a while, and I think once I saw it on TV.
Once you saw it on TV.
But it was for the Xbox release. It was for the Xbox release.
Okay, because the reason I want to bring this up is because we went to Korea for Nations Cup. Sharky was there, DrasseL was there. There's PUBG shit everywhere.
Yeah.
There's literally PUBG shit all over the place. Like, you go in, like, it was insane where I felt like they were really going out of their way to establish PUBG as the dominant force. And I feel like here, I see Fortnite stuff all the time where they're doing that, but I don't see the same effort there.
For comparison, what other games did you guys see?
In Korea?
Korea, yeah.
I don't think I noticed anything.
Yeah, it
else.
was literally just like PUBG stuff.
Yeah.
That's
I
all
don't,
it
remember,
was,
I don't remember seeing another game either.
I think, I mean, mind you, we are going during Nations Cup, so they were pushing that. But on top of that, like, I was seeing stuff that had nothing to do with Nations Cup and stores, and it felt like they were really trying to, like, push the fact that PUBG, hey, this is the game. We want to have this be our forefront of, PUBG is number one, and we want to be number one. And
I mean, China and Korea, it's like a culture thing, right? Like it's just embedded into their culture of esports now. And I mean, you can see it even when like my guys stream on Huya, like they're seeing like there's just more people that want to watch.
Right.
There's more people that are interested in the game and want to ask questions and all that different stuff. So I think naturally it's just a lot bigger over there. And I think we've said this even since early 2018 was like, that's one really good thing that NA and EU have for them is that it's huge in Asia, and Asia is big about their world championships.
right.
So we're always going to be brought along for the ride at least. And we're going to have time, it doesn't need to be perfect immediately. But as far as like, I think getting a solid rank system where you're, like you said, you're playing against other people that are your similar level is huge. But a lot of things, not to bash on PUBG because we all love it, but like some things are just half-assed. Like, for example, we asked for something to shoot and kind of like a little something originally outside of the battle royale mode. We got war mode,
Mhm.
but we're still having to parachute in when we were like, hey, let's just
War mode,
spawn, or,
War
like,
mode
let's
was
just-
hype when it came out. I
It-
was
it-
like,
it was-
yes,
it
we
had so
finally
much
got it,
potential.
boys. Yeah.
So much potential, and it is still the same as it was, and we can't land on the ground. We can't pick what loadout we want. Like, we can't pick our zones. Like, those are all very, like, I'm not a developer, but those seem
Right.
pretty easy to do. You know, like, maybe not the spawning thing because it's not anywhere else in the game, but like being able to say this is the center of the zone I want and this is the diameter I want of it, shouldn't be that hard, right? And like being able to say this is my loadout I want, like, at least for warming up and some sort of, I mean, originally, if we talk about expectations, right? Because
Mhm.
I think to me you have to look at the total expectations of the player base, which originally we were told we were going to get the ability to mod the fuck out of it, right? And do whatever we wanted to do. And we could do races. And like, to me, I don't know if anyone else is a console boy, but like Halo 3, when they introduced Forge mode and everyone could make their map.
Absolutely.
And you could do mongoose races and like all that different shit. Like that could be PUBG, but we also had the issue with cheaters. And if you allow, I'm not a geek on the topic, but if you allow like all the sources of how to mod the game out there, then it's much easier for cheaters to be involved. So I think that initially was probably why they didn't do free to play as well. But now it's like a double. We're not getting this and we're not getting that. So what the fuck?
Do you think a team deathmatch type mode, a war mode that you can actually play, like the PUBG Mobile TDM is actually sick. You guys just respawn like it's COD, and it's just, like, I was in there practicing sprays. First time I played PUBG Mobile, I did that for like 2 hours. I didn't even play a normal game. I was in there like, there's no reason to play. I got to figure out how to shoot first. You know what I mean? Do you think that can help a brand new player and have someone stay in the game rather than obviously dropping, looting, 15 minutes, getting destroyed by TIG?
I mean, it's at the sacrifice of losing the core of the game, which is a battle royale. Like, if more people want to play that, then play, something else. But to me, people are already going to PUBG Mobile. People are already playing PUBG Lite, where they can have deathmatch. And so it's like, what are we preserving here? Like, we were preserving this battle royale and like a pure one with gunplay, and it's not Fortnite and it's not super fast paced like these other games. So we enjoy it, but what are we preserving if we're just losing everyone? If it's only the core people that are playing.
Right. And that is kind of how it feels, right? We're keeping it the way we remember it, the way we want it, but it's like, we should probably make some changes here to stop the bleeding, solve the issue. Now we also have obviously dGon casting for Contenders. Tig, you were in Contenders last split. Contenders right now in North America is pretty much like, obviously there's opens, but opens are pretty much like a 1 weekend tournament, a 2-week tournament to see who gets into Contenders. Their practice comes from NA Pro scrims and things like that. Is there, like, what is the grassroots NA PUBG comp looking like? If I'm playing any game, just the way I am, and I'm sure some of you guys are probably like this, like the first game I go to, I'm sitting there, I play a little bit, but if it's a shooter, like, I want to try and play against better players. I want to try and, scrim. I want to try and figure out the game and get better. And competitive is pretty much the key there. So when we're looking at the NA grassroots system here, if I'm joining a new game, what is my in looking like? Because I'm not too familiar. I know the opens, but am I at a let's wait a couple months to play, in an open tournament and just see what happens type of thing?
I think, like, obviously I didn't come up through NA,
Right.
so I'm not exactly sure on how the scene looks. But I feel like if your only entrance into a competitive scene of a game is to DM like a tier 3 Discord owner to ask for an invite to some like privately run Discord, some like, it's not even part of PUBG, if that makes sense. It's like some like little community that someone set up.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's your only entrance into the scene, is to DM some Discord owner and then try and substitute for a team. Like, of course, no one new is going to be coming into the competitive scene. Like, people don't even know where to start looking, I feel.
Yeah, also, I just side note, love every time that you're setting something up, Jabroni, and DrasseL doesn't like it. He just
you can instantly tell he's like, son of a bitch, man.
This is ass. Yeah. It's funny because I'm not sure what you're alluding to, like what the solution is like if you want PUBG to pump money into esports, but a traditionally known concept is that a company cannot decide if it's an esport or not. It can
Mhm.
support its esport, but it can't decide if it's esport or not. And right now, it kind of feels like this is where PUBG is at in North America. The way I look at it is if you take Counter-Strike and they do their major region and minor region qualifiers um for CS:GO and for their majors, we're just kind of a minor region here in North America based off of the player base that we have and lack of infrastructure that's put into it. The money needs to come from other orgs, and it's just not. And it's not because it's uh, PUBG has made it difficult to make money on the game, right? You can't have a team and not win and find financial stability that is necessary. 16 teams, who knows if that's the right number? Like maybe it's 10 teams where, okay, you can financially work your way through even if you're not a top team. But then you have relegation, which is a financial disaster if you are expecting a certain amount of money from a league and then your team all of a sudden has a bad split and then you're or a bad phase and then you're out. And the abyss is there, right?
Mhm.
That is a big issue for leagues that have like structure and stability. Or when you look at games like CS:GO that don't have leagues, they have tournaments. There are so many tournaments, right? There
Oh,
are
yeah.
so many tournaments that there's enough money to go around that you can at least venture a more volatile organization state rather than a league like Overwatch League, a league like the LCS. And right now you're finding that with Fortnite, where there's enough money that's being pumped into Fortnite esports by Epic, but what happens when that money goes away? What happens when Fortnite's like, yeah, we're not going to spend like 100 billion or million, I think it's $100 million on esports. What happens then? Then they're going to fall into the same pits that PUBG is currently at now. So for me, it's getting more structure in terms of being clear on like what the path to pro is. What is the path to pro? That's always like the key word when you're talking about building grassroots, building esports, connecting collegiate in there, and then finding financial stability. And I'm sure all of you guys have expertise on like what PUBG is not doing, Batskins, to help orgs make money.
Mhm. So, is there an issue in all of this, right? We want to get more people into comp so they have something to play for. We want people to have a reason to play the game when they come home, to enjoy it and have fun, to actually go into lobbies. What's wrong with just bringing back the old ranking system and the matchmaking that they had at the time?
Queue times is the reason I believe it was taken away. But I feel like the queue times were only exaggerated because Sanhok and Vikendi came out, and people just wanted to play that over Erangel because people want more fast pace, more loot. Like that was the reason Sanhok was so popular initially, was because there was more loot, and like it's more accessible to a casual player, I think.
Yeah, Sanhok was blowing everything out of the water, like 100%. But like,
Yeah.
I'm sure it gives you guys a reason to play, right? Like if you just brought back the old system, right? Everyone would want to play the game and grind leaderboards. Like would anyone
Again, the
not?
problem is you're not playing. You're playing against shitters. You're not like I don't. I know you remember Mac, but like in the beginning, when you knew you were playing against 4 other good teams,
Right.
you cared and you knew that you were gonna have a battle. And like I mean, to me and probably a lot of other OGs, like that was the highlights or the best times and why we fell in love with the game was grinding against the other PUBG EXP Discord players, right? So when you knew there was another, there's another EXP team in here in this lobby, then it actually became real. You actually gave a fuck. And that's just as far as online play. To me, the only other thing is doing something like the pop-up cups or something, which could definitely be successful, right? Like, I know we're talking about the leaderboard, but like as far as getting people to give a shit and want to play online versus trying to compete at the highest level, that's the only thing that I can think of is you give people an opportunity to go to an event or like that. I mean, that's the only thing that I can think of is why people would want to play more if you're getting something out of it. And the way that esports is in the bubble that we're kind of in right now is like everyone's dumping a unreasonable amount of money into it. So it's like, well, why would I play for fun anymore? Unless unless it's something you do to, I don't know, maybe that's just because where I'm at now, like how I've progressed. But I see everyone else like it's you're competing to be one of the best esports players. You're competing to grind a leaderboard. You're competing to do something.
Right.
So I don't see PUBG as like as much of a casual game, as maybe other people might see it as.
Okay.
But that's why, as far as ranking, like I don't want to get in with like three other guys, and know that we're gonna win the game.
Right.
Right.
And that is how it feels right now, where I feel like if, we grouped up with, if you grouped up with 3 people that from NPL or PEL, and you really wanted to win a public game, like, you could win it almost every
Right.
single time.
You'd never lose.
You know what I mean?
With drive-bys only.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, and it is one of those things where there has to be something there. Something's got to give in that situation. Now, I don't want to dwell on getting people into the game too much, because that was actually like almost 30 minutes. We just talked about that and all the different concepts of it. But a little bit of a taste, a little bit of a brainstorming session. Not too bad. Some stuff, it pretty much all relies on the same thing that has been talked about a lot. Ranking definitely seems to be, number 1 on that list. Yes,
Mac, I'm gonna interrupt you before you transition. I just want to say that I think another thing that needs to be eventually talked about is a re-release or a PUBG 2 or something, because I think that is one thing that would bring back the 3 million that have tried PUBG to see, is it really fixed? Because how many times do you try PUBG
right.
when, okay, I've heard that the guns are better, I've heard that they fixed the thing that I really didn't like, but it comes with a huge sacrifice of, again, the culture in Asia specifically with PUBG is still booming, and then maybe they don't want a PUBG 2 unless it's definitely free to play, or it comes with all these risks. And I think that PUBG has even said before they're not really interested in a PUBG 2, but like I mean, it's got a history, right? Call of Duty has built a franchise off of it, a
Yeah.
Halo franchise off of it. Like,
Yeah.
people who, they're shit games and they're still buying it because it is what it is. It's just a title. So I mean, I think that is something that's worth talking about in the future too.
Just imagine if Fortnite 2 comes out.
Oh, that's so
People
much
are gonna
money.
lose their minds.
That's actually a good point, because I do think that would actually bring like a huge driving force back to the PUBG franchise. Just having, hey, we changed it up and we're starting this one where it should have been, or where we realized we could have started the last one had we went through the development beforehand. Obviously they didn't, because it was all pre-alpha and that. But that could definitely drive everyone back to the franchise, and I think that could be like a huge kicking point. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen in the next year or two, something around there, along those lines. Now, that's enough of that. Let's move on a little bit here. I want to get into the streaming aspect of the game. Okay, PUBG obviously was dominating Twitch when it first came out. Absolutely dominant. Everybody played PUBG, and there was, the dumbest shit happened in all the games. It was hilarious. We used to watch all the highlight videos. It was fantastic. In that time, there was a huge separation between streamers and competitive players, obviously. And that's kind of what I want to touch on the most here, is bringing that together, bridging that gap more or less. Now, Drass, you're a perfect example. Tig, you as well. Lately, have been popping up on stream more and more and more of competitive players that are now streaming, and they're getting tons of viewers. You guys are both blowing up. DrasseL, you're killing it. Tig, you're killing it. For this game, especially, do we need to, I'll start with this, do we need to bridge a gap between competitive players and people who just stream the game full time? Do we want to try and crossbreed a little bit, use our influencers, try and connect DrasseL to the 3,000 viewer streamer who just plays the game, or can we have that separation? What have you seen in other games, things of that nature? Trask, go ahead.
I think that bridge was originally created with Broadcaster Royale.
Yeah.
Where you had these famous streamers that were complaining about getting fucking wrecked,
Yeah.
And that's just the way it's gonna be. You're not gonna go, like, you're getting invited to Broadcaster Royale,
Right.
and you're expecting free money, basically. Like, it's a video game tournament. Like, do you expect to suck and get money? Like, I don't know. I had a big problem there. Now, I feel like, for example, Choco, has been doing a pretty good job of talking about competitive players and the competitive scene, and you see him watch the tournaments. You see a lot of the top PUBG streamers involved with the PUBG tournaments. So I don't know if that's I don't know how much of a problem it is now, the bridge between streamers and comp players. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how much of a problem it is now
Right.
versus the problem of not having the players in NA, if that makes sense.
Well, I think that Chaco is going, like, he goes out of his way to do it on his own, where he's just like, I want to support the game. I want to support. Like, I don't think it's anything there. Like, I literally think he's just like, hey, I like comp. I would like comp and PUBG to do well. I would like PUBG to do well. You know, I'm mutually invested in this game as well. So, you know, he's looking out for everyone, and I think that's great. Now, beforehand, that obviously wasn't the case. Not with Chaco, but with other streamers. Now, as those streamers dissipate, the people who are still here didn't reap the benefits originally, right? Is kind of the way I see it. Obviously, we have 17, the Liquid Boys crush it on stream. Like all of them. Is it a different vibe in EU when it comes to the connection between content creators and competitive players? Because I see them.
I think
No,
definitely the content creators are, as far as what I've been able to pick up on, like the Spreezies, the Wacky Jackies, they're all very supportive, and they interact very, very well with each other and invite each other to each other's things. And even when they come to visit the big events, actually Spreezy and Wacky Jackie were both at GLL, and they're talking and doing interviews with players and showing any support they can. So it's definitely a positive atmosphere over here, but that's kind of an EU thing, right? Like helping each other and being, you know, like friendly is just normal in EU. There's not really any bad blood, and that's one of the things that I really enjoy about being over here is everyone supports each other. It doesn't matter, you know, if you're Russian or Swedish or Turkish. Like we all kind of get along, and even me, for being an American, it's kind of just a acceptance thing, and it's really easy to talk to each other. And so yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen it between the high tier, but also the high tier content creators are players, you know, like
Right.
apart from the top, you know, 5 or something. And here in EU, then it's, you know, Fuzz and Ibiza and James and Rekrant and, you know, the different Russian guys too. So it's like
the Russian
they
guys
are
kill it
up
stream.
there. Yeah,
Russian
for sure.
guys are nuts. Now let's say let's go back a year, or let's even go forward to a PUBG 2 situation. Let's say it happens again, and all of a sudden you have all the big streamers. They're all coming back, right? They're all, obviously they're going to give the game a go. It's going to be popular. And I think it needs to go both ways, where, you know, the comp stuff has to transfer into those streamers and try and help them, and those streamers in turn need to help the comp players. But let's say you're a Sharky, you're one of the most dominant NA players there is, and you're streaming. What do we want to see happen on the way back? Like, you brought up Broadcast Royale and how that was, you know, a big separation issue, right? What would be done the right way? How would we want to see that formed to kind of connect and bridge that gap right away? Where it's like, okay, you know, there's like Shroud and Doc, they're all going to play the game. You know, Ninja's going to pop in and play PUBG too, and all this stuff's going to happen. But we don't want to cater to that so much that then when they're gone, the viewers are gone as well. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how it felt like it went the first time. So is it those Broadcaster Royales? Is that something that you need to force comp players into? That you need to kind of mix and match, you know, and have those Twitch rivals where the comp players are half of the teams and they're competing against these streamers? So you see a Sharky, you know, is that like how this stuff needs to be set up?
It needs to be based off of like Twitch. Like if it's a Twitch rivals event, players like Ibiza, DrasseL, like K-Mind shouldn't be banned. Like K-Mind would probably clap everyone's cheeks in rivals. But I don't know, like it seems like players like, I guess like pretend Choco or something, like just an example, like if K-Mind were to just slap him, like I don't understand why the Twitch rivals, they wouldn't want that to happen. why would they ban K-Mine from playing? Because he's gonna like destroy all these people. When he's like, a
Because
big-
Twitch Rivals is, I've worked on Twitch Rivals for Madden and for League of Legends, and they're still finding their feet as, is it a variety kind of competition for the streamers, or is it a competitive tournament for anybody, right? They're still in that process of figuring it out, and the first one was definitely catered to the streamers, right? And also hearing the same complaints that happened during Broadcaster Royale, which I think completely misses the point of people wanting to see just what happens or how bad the clap's going to be when K-Mine and Chaco like face off, right? That moment is why people would watch and then draw people in, right? But by taking that away, you're rewarding streamers that maybe are slightly smaller in the PUBG community, but
shouldn't that be the goal? Shouldn't that be the goal to, you know, the undiscovered player, like the Tiggleton of it? I think, Tig, if I'm not mistaken, it was you. You sniped some random guy out of a parachute. What was that in?
that was in Twitch Rivals.
That was in Twitch Rivals. That was a perfect example of something where, like, don't we want that to be showcased? Don't we want those players to go into something like that? And let's say it's a Broadcast Royale where they have like a qualifier or something. Isn't the entire point to be like, whoa, this guy Tiggleton is nuts, you know? And then all these viewers who are brought in by all these other streamers are like, that guy is insane at this game, and I'm gonna stick around PUBG now. And then Tig sticks around, and then the viewers. Isn't that the purpose of that?
that's a hopeful end result, not the purpose, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like the purpose is still up for debates, but again, Twitch Rivals is it's that partnership between the company that runs Twitch Rivals and Twitch itself. So I think they're still trying to figure out, is this highlighting our streamers, our smaller streamers, or is this a showcase of talent where we're trying to get eyeballs? And it varies sometimes. Like when we did League of Legends, we invite some of the biggest streamers, but not all the biggest streamers. But when they did TFT, Team Fight Tactics, they invited the biggest streamers, and it was like a ton of eyes on it, right? So it's almost like it changes. And so I don't think Twitch thinks about it enough for PUBG specifically, right? Do we go get the big eyes on it so that it's a ton of viewers, or do we reward these smaller streamers? Not exactly sure yet.
It also comes down to money at the end of the day, right? Because if it was for charity, it would be a completely different conversation. It's about what can I get, and
100%.
And I think that's like kind of a bit of the issue too, because then there's like the bleed over where there's no rules against the casual streamer playing in NPL, right? But they're never going to make it because they're not good enough, or they don't have the willpower to get there. But you have these people who are at the highest part of the game, but they're also very good streamers. Why can't I play with just streamers just because I'm better? Like, and so there becomes this big issue. And also, like, again, it would be a little bit different if everyone in NPL or in the pro scene was making a bunch of money, and we had 100,000 views on our tournaments. We wouldn't really care so much what was going on over with Twitch Rivals. We'd be like, we still get, but because we don't have the viewers, NPL hardly breaks 10K viewers. Then it's like, what the fuck? Like, why?
NPL
why
hardly
would
breaks
I even...
5K viewers. 10K
I
is
didn't want to go that low.
A dream, all right? Just so we're clear.
You're only counting Twitch, guys. You're not counting the other
true.
broadcast
True,
channels and the other.
I'm only counting Twitch. True, I am.
But to be at the top tier and only have, let's even be nice and say 5K viewers and making this money, why wouldn't I just fucking say I'm not gonna play pro? I'm gonna go stomp kids and get free money, like, you know, plenty of people have or can. So I mean, it's just like it comes down to the money. If you're playing for charity, then you know what people aren't gonna care as much.
So Hambino brings up a decent point in chat here when he said that you can't just use pro players in something like Twitch Rivals. It's called Twitch Rivals. It's for Twitch streamers, right? But in that regard, I agree. If it's a streamer tournament like Twitch Rivals, it should be for Twitch streamers. The issue I have...
Well, you have to stream, right? Like even
yeah.
I'm a fucking streamer.
No, exactly. And that's the issue. That's the issue that I have with what they do is where well, let's say you wanted to cut it off at an average viewership. I don't care if you do that. But in that sense, I don't like the blocking out the competitive players, the DrasseL, because he's a competitive player. And that's
Right.
kind of where I think the real issue lies, where we had it, like, it does make sense in the broadcaster royale thing that it's for broadcasters, right? You got to be, whatever those guidelines are that they want to make is fine. But as soon as you cut out the competitive part of it, the Jeems, the Bisa, the DrasseL, the Tiggleton, they are now completely separated. You have created a gap where they will never be able to play against one another. They will never, unless they just want to play pubs together one time and hook each other up like they do in EU, and it's like Spreezy and I see him playing with, some EU pros. But that's kind of that makes sense to me, and I think that was the issue. And I think if something came out, a PUBG 2 or something, and they were like, "Oh, Broadcast Royale's back," I'd be pretty fucking upset if they did the exact same thing. And I'm sitting there seeing DrasseL fucking like, okay, well, I don't get to play again just because I chose to play competitive. I'm limited, and I think that's kind of bullshit. I just like that is what I think is the root of the issue. Is we could have had something great, and we could have had pros right now in the NPL and the PEL that gained a ton of popularity long ago, but I think they were partially blocked out of it.
Sharky, why don't you stream? Like, you're one of the biggest fraggers and very fun to watch, and I get to do your highlights all the time. Like, why is that not a larger part of your daily life?
For me, I don't know. I don't really enjoy casually playing the game. For me, like, competitive is like where it's at. I don't like I said, like playing the game casually and like streaming and stuff. That just doesn't feel as good as playing the game competitively for me. So, like, I like to stream, but it feels more of a chore than like, just okay, let's just turn on my stream and chill. I don't know. It's a lot harder than actually just playing.
Could you stream other games though? Is it literally just like a
Yeah.
having fun thing? It's literally just
for me, like, if I'm not having fun, it's just gonna be like a boring time, and I'm just gonna be like kind of just doing nothing, playing the game pointlessly. And every time I play PUBG, I try to like make it into something like practice, and it's hard to do that when you're playing the game casually.
Interesting. All right, that was a fun conversation about this.
I
And
mean,
it's
to end it, like, has there been a tournament where there was streamers with pro players? Wasn't that at Berlin?
PGI Berlin 2018. We were there. Balak and McCoy played with Doc and Shroud. It was a perfect example of what I would love to see. And like, to me, in that situation, that was fucking great. I was stoked. We had all the different countries had their own content creators, like, with their teams. It was fucking awesome. And, it was actually an awesome thing to see because, people were like, oh my God, can Shroud handle himself? Can Shroud? And then he went in there and like, he was fucking fragging. And he was like, yeah, he can handle himself with a lot of these players. And even vice versa, where you see some of the other streamers going and just not do so great. You know what I mean? And it's kind of something like that, I think, goes a long way, especially when you're trying to promote or help people who are, the diehards in the game. And right now I feel like the diehards in the game are still here, but some of them were wronged before. And I feel like had that been done a little bit better, we would be in a different place when it came to viewership, when it came to NPL and PEL viewership and Pro League popularity.
I will say that sounds insanely expensive now to get those streamers to play in a tournament. Again, it comes to the same question of like, is my time that I would be spending streaming and making that income with my viewership worth playing in this tournament for a game that is wrong to me? Like, it's gonna have to, balance out. And it sounds too expensive to do.
Yeah, well, that's
in my estimation.
Yeah. I'm sure it definitely. Also, now that'll be it for the streamer thing. I just wanted to touch on it a little bit and see the thoughts in that regard, because obviously that's something that other games are going to have to do in the future. Everybody at some point, it's easy if everyone has it figured out, because it should be universal across any game on how to handle something like that and kind of how to crossbreed between comp play and streaming. Now, last but not least here, I want to touch on the wonderful map of Sanhok. Now, Sanhok was introduced to the game.
Woo!
And it was, as Tig said, it was dominant when it came to popularity. I see D-Rich in chat. He's the sweatiest Sanhok player I've ever seen in my life. He drops on boot camp 400 times a day. And it is just, there's so much about this map to digest and how it's different from the others. Obviously, it's smaller, it's faster paced. The loot is so much fucking better. It's got the best loot out of any map. Now, I want to start with a public game perspective here. When we're playing public games, what is the opinion of Sanhok? Let's say, because now, you get quick join if you're in NA. You have to RNG one of them. If you RNG Sanhok, what's the thoughts? How are we feeling? What's the opinions across the board?
I kind of like it. It's like a frag chat, kind of like you just go in there and just get loot quick, and you don't really have to like play the slow aspects of PUBG. It's like, I don't know, it's kind of refreshing for me, but
Yeah, I'm on board with Sharky, but at the same time, I think there's this huge like loot spot privilege with Painan, Paradise, Boot Camp.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a couple spots that are just like so stacked on loot and have decent rotation paths that you kind of you have like an advantage in every fight you take. If fighting is going to be the focus of the map, then like every time we come up against Gen and they have like 4 3 vests and 3 XM4s, and we're running like iron sight AKs and 1 vests with no first aid.
Well, wait. I wanna focus pubs first. We'll get into that. We'll get into that, Tig. We'll get into that.
I was talking about pubs.
My bad.
We will 100% get into that in a minute. But
I was too busy writing into chat. Is that the real
you're fucking
Matt
sitting
Dillon?
there like fucking Sanhok, bro.
I like to sit on a mountain.
You're still learning English, okay?
Yeah.
Tig's like, these Northwest circles, they're the best.
I don't know
I
American
love
yet,
them.
dude.
He doesn't speak American yet.
All right. So the rest of you thoughts? Sanhok, you drop in, you see that you've RNG'd Sanhok. Are you happy? Are you upset? What's the situation?
Here's my problem with Sanhok. The only motivation I have to play public games is high kill games, and the pace of Sanhok just doesn't, like, if I play Erangel or Miramar, I have the ability to make these games faster paced than Sanhok. And that's why Sanhok is not even one of my favorites. It's probably my least favorite map to play because I just don't like the pace of it.
Just don't like the I understand where you're coming from because we obviously play duos all the time, and it's nuts as shit for the first 10 minutes.
Right.
5
Right.
minutes.
It's the exact opposite. It's like Sanhok's like this, and Erangel and
Yeah.
Miramar like this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
But at the same time, I'm probably in a very specific spot. Like, I don't think there's a lot of people in that position that like, I'm probably 0.1% of the people that feel like that.
Now, let's say, because I completely agree where the Sanhok hot drops are way better than any other map. And Hamino literally pointed out, he's like, for me, I completely agree. Way better as a spectator. If I'm watching someone play, I do enjoy watching Sanhok, someone go in there and just fragging all over the place. Instant M4. People are getting lasered left and right. You're coming out of boot camp 7, 8, 9 kills in minutes. And I totally get that regard, but I do hate when you leave those and you're like, wow, there's 23 people alive.
Yeah, so many people just die so fast.
And it's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do now?
Well, it's almost like it depends on what is your definition as a viewer of like the superhero aspect of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
If someone rolls out of there with like 12 kills on the first hot drop, and that's sick. But is that why you watch, or do you watch someone try to get the chicken dinner, try to work their way on through if you're playing something like Miramar and seeing, like what DrasseL said, control the game, control the pace. If that's what you want to see, then it really depends. And for me, I've grown to assume that PUBG is more like Miramar. So now that we're seeing much more Sanhok in competitive play, and that's where I view a lot of it, it is a lot more fun to see like the high pace action just early.
Okay. Now
I think it's much better in pubs. I think the Sanhok is much better than the other two maps for a casual player who just wants to get in and get their games in. They get to shoot immediately. They get their loot quickly. They get to get more games in, even if because I mean, who's going for wins anymore? Like unless you're a streamer going for high kill wins, you're not really like. At least me, I'm going for. I'm gonna kill as many people as I can. I'm gonna take as many fights as I can. And for the new player who even wants to become competitive, it's better to take more fights. Like even if you lose a few, you're gonna learn how to correctly right peek better, and you're gonna learn how to which angles you can and can't run through, and those types of things. So I think it's much better for the casual.
Do you think that's why it was so much more popular when it first came out? Because people were just sitting there and be like, I can drop Paradise 80 times in a row here, and I can get 10 times the gunfights. You know what I mean? Like, because that's what I felt was the drive of the popularity. And I kind of agree for a casual player. If I'm sitting there and, I'm getting in gunfights on Orangel, I'm getting destroyed, but I just spent 20 minutes driving around. I killed one guy and, Gotka early, and now I'm moving around trying to get to circle, and then I lose a second gunfight. If I want to practice that, I do feel as though it's like, hey, dude, let's just drop in Sanhok a couple times, warm up the guns a little bit, kind of drop into boot camp and do things of that nature.
I think that's the majority for me, at least, is what I would assume from the casual player, the average player. But also, I think it is a much more visually satisfying map compared to the two that we had previously.
I agree
so I
with
think
that.
like that might be a minor to the major. You might have the major point down, but that's also like a minor point is Erangel. At least what are we supposed to call it? Original Erangel?
Classic, I think.
Erangel
Yeah,
classic. Sorry,
classic. Yeah.
I gotta be correct. And Miramar were much it's just better to play and look at, and
All right. Now, is there, let's say we talk about the issue of, I don't mind the hot drop. If you want to hot drop and get a bunch of kills, if you want to go on a Randall, you want to drop a Chinky with 30 people and see how many kills you can get on the way. Like, I'm totally cool with it. But how do we stop the 15 or 20 players alive? Because if I'm going quick join, like, I won't lie to you, I leave Sanhok. Because I'm in the same boat. I want to try and, if I'm playing with Dress, I want to try and get a high kill win. And I drop into Sanhok and I'm like, well, I'm not doing it here. I'm not going to waste 25 minutes of my time.
Ranked mode.
Or not even that, just for like casual play. A good thing that H1 had was like dynamic zones. The zone would shrink and it'd be like a certain size depending on how many people were alive.
People have brought that up before. I've heard that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy, I didn't
So
know
say
that.
for example, like if a lot of people are dying, it'd just go to like phase 3 or phase 4 like immediately, like from the first shrink, and then yeah, just I don't know. They'd have to adjust how fast the zone moved or how long it would take, but I think it'd be easy for something like that to exist in casual play.
It goes like 100 to 10, and so it goes
Yeah.
from phase 1 to like phase 8, and you gotta like find a vehicle to zip your ass over there, otherwise you're dead.
Yeah, it was
That could be a good solution, probably.
Yeah, that's something that people have talked about a few times. And there was like, I don't know, it was like 3 months ago. I had a Circle 3 person, or a Circle 3 game with 5 alive, and I was in squads, and I was alone. And I was literally in a 1v4 in Circle 3. And it was like, I mean, it was probably like 15 minutes before I found them. I was just running around, and it was like, I was like, well, I'm already here. Like, I want to win. I just wasted 20 minutes of my life. Like, I'm not going to leave. And it was a strange experience. Is there something like, how about map design? Do we want to alter that? Do we want to split boot camp in half and put a little bit of it further east? Do we want to do something with Paradise, or do we not want to touch it?
So I think my one concern with that, like I think it would be better than what we currently have, but my concern would be that we're trying to bring it more, like make the pubs and the competitive more similar. And if we do something completely different in pubs that isn't in comp, obviously we don't have that yet, but if we want that, that would be my concern. But one idea that could help would be if you have quests, right, or like objectives, where you drop in this spot for 5 games, right, like Sami or Pinon or whatever. But instead of everyone having the same, everyone has different.
Right, because
So,
there was a
like,
Milta
I'm
one,
playing with-
right? There was a Milta one. There was like 30 people Milta.
I
every
remember
game.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So then
remember
it
that.
becomes then you're just changing the hot drop. But if you
Right.
have everyone on different objectives, then I'm playing squads, and my 3 other teammates need to go to these other places. So if you were to like separate it out, then that's one idea of like possibly making it a little bit better. More people stay alive.
I actually like that. Idea, because I think as we're progressing into skins and rewards, and I think the rewards, like, I don't know if you guys noticed, our emotes are fucking awesome. Like we have sick emotes in this game now, and I absolutely love them. But I feel like as those rewards have developed into something that's actually you want and it's something that you can attain, bringing these tasks back, something along those lines, and trying to diversify them a little bit could definitely kind of just spread the game out, because I do think that is something that PUBG had originally that it's losing over time, which is, people were spreading out. They weren't confident. There wasn't 40 people pachinki every game. And I think that, there was a lot of people alive further and further into the game. And I am always thinking, and I always want ways to bring that back. I think that would be something that would be a very interesting feature. Now, obviously, Sanhok is now in comp. It's been an adventure. It's been fun. Now, Tanner, I'm going to go to you, but I want to start with Sharky. Sharky, tempo.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel right now about Sanhok? Because obviously you've been doing all right on it. You're in first. You're killing it. You guys are looting the Painan.
That's just because we're just so much smarter than every other team. But Sanhok is just
there
like,
it is, bro. There it is.
It's kind of cheese. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it, but I'd prefer it not to be there.
You prefer it not to be there. Interesting. Yeah, I see like the tempo 4-man driving like instantly first circle.
Yeah.
Next level
we don't
stuff,
do that.
bro. Next level stuff. Yeah. Oh no, you don't do that. I'm sorry.
No.
17 on the EU side of things. Sanhok.
Yes.
I mean, what is the situation over there?
For us personally, we're lucky to have it because it's kind of saved us this split so far. I think we're number 1 on Sanhok overall, and then the other maps more like number 6 or something. So it's definitely been good for us. But there's definitely clear issues, but I think it has potential. For my 3 quick fixes would be remove land ratio, more smokes specifically, so that when you are screwed and you have to cross through the valley with or a road or whatever with 2 teams watching you, you have a chance, even if it's not a good chance. And blue damage needs to be changed. Blue, not only damage, but timing needs to be changed.
Yeah,
as
speed.
well.
Speed,
and of course the damage we had. If anyone watched this last week, we had someone who came in as a snake in circle 6 that had been healing in the blue with 15 first aids and ruined our game. So
wait, what the hell are we doing? Oh, sorry.
That's something that's typically left for me in North George. The blue healing,
right.
but now it's kind of, it can happen in Sanhok, and so I think that needs to also be fixed. But I think the map has a ton of potential. I think it's fun for viewers. I think it kind of sucks that the closer you are to the first circle, the better your first circle central, the better your chances of winning the game are. So I think there's a lot of issues, but it has been fun. It has been, for us, something new. For people who have all 4 or all 5 of us been around since the beginning of the game, we got to learn something new, right? Because we have played Miramar for 2 years and Erangel for 3. So yeah, that's kind of like something that was exciting. It was good to get back into and learn and discuss, and loot spots are fun. You guys, I know, have had a lot more, or you had a bunch of Northwest zones.
Yeah.
We haven't had any Northwest Island zones, but we have had a lot of Southwest Island zones. So it just goes to show the predictability of, if Circle 1 is 100% that island, either of those 2 islands, and I kind of, you got to change the way you play, right? And you got to be a little more riskier in the early game. So that's kind of like my initial thoughts and my take on it. But I do think it has potential. I think it'll be even more fun once we have Vector, or SMGs in general, I guess. Will be
when
cool to just change up the pace of the game and do something new.
Okay. I don't mind it too much. And this is kind of like the thought process that I had is, okay, what can we do to make Sanhok like the other maps? And then you kind of sit there and you're like, okay, does Sanhok need to be like the other maps? Is the second question, where you're like, okay, let's skip the first one here. It doesn't need to be the same, but let's iron out what they want and try and adjust what we can to get it to a point where it is more competitive, right? Because that's what it should be. It should be, a competitive map as much as possible if they're going to make those changes. Now, Tiggleton, DrasseL, Sharky, you guys have all played on it. What are the biggest issues for you guys that are something, you know, most of them are probably easy fixes, right? So what's the biggest issues that we've run into so far playing competitive Sanhok?
Consistent circles.
Yeah. Like the water circle is super early in the game.
Oh yeah,
so,
okay.
yeah.
It's like second shrink, isn't it? And the
Third. It's third and sixth.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, like if it was later in the game, you would get more diverse circles. But at the moment, it's like if it's northwest circle, it's going to end like 80% of the time on the top of the mountain. If it's southwest, there's like 2 compounds. It ends like right outside of every time.
And that's a fucking problem.
Yeah, it's
Because
a problem.
not being on a
Because
mountain, you know, how
yeah,
it's fucking rough out there, you know?
it's like
Yeah.
it's either play to get fed.
It's hard out
play
here
to
coming
get
from
fed.
cave, bro.
No, literally, it's you play to get fed, or you play to just scram as many kills as you can on the edge. There's no like out rotate. Like there's no outsmarting. It's not like there's an empty side of the circle. Like half the time it's just a log jam on wherever it hard shrinks from or whatever.
You
Right.
basically just have to like blind dive and
Yeah.
hopefully not get wiped.
Yeah, but to me, the terrain,
There you go. We got it.
terrain
There it
out
is.
there.
Yeah, we had a conversation about the word terrain
yeah,
the other
yeah.
week. So
I'm working on it. The terrain on the northwest island is not very balanced. Like the teams sitting on top of it have, or like you know, just landing there have such a big advantage. I don't mind the circle being far away from me, but that island is just not balanced. And I think the more we play Sanhok, we're gonna realize, just like Erangel and Miramar, things that need to be changed or added on the map to give more options for the teams like Erangel. Let's say the teams that were not. The melee island is way more playable and gives more options for teams that need to rotate onto it.
So is this something like, obviously I think if you just get rid of the water shrink, it solves a lot. Because I don't think we even need the water shrink anymore. I think it's just something where it's just like, okay, get rid of it. It doesn't need to be there. Like I don't.
Especially on Sanhok. Nobody
If
wants
you
to play
remove the
on
water
Sanhok.
shrink, I think that increases the loot privilege because it'll be more about like actually having to push teams. You can't really play to get fed, so then boot camp is like buffed, kind of, because you have more loot, so you'll be more able to take fights.
So you think that would in turn make teams looting priority areas? Because I know you guys pretty much compound loot connecting the northwest and southwest island. So you're saying that in turn would then nerf your loot because you can't get the.
Yeah, if we couldn't play to get fed and we had to fight, like, what's the point of looting our shit over Painan or whatever? Like,
but
there
is
no
that
point.
something?
Painan is just objectively better.
Is that something that then turns into, then go take boot camp?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of like something like that where it's like, okay, yeah, like the compound loot's going to be shittier than the city. And then in my head, I'm thinking to myself, well, yeah, it should be. And if you would prioritize or want to prioritize looting a Painan or or a boot camp or a paradise, then go fight the team that's in it. And that's kind of like something there where like, I understand what you're saying from in that regard of like, yeah, you're not going to have people flying up to you, trying to panic, right? And, all these people getting just annihilated trying to get uphill. But I do think that like the land ratio thing that they have going on right now, the water circle is just, it's just too predictable, especially southwest and northwest. Not so much on the main island, but even on the main island, you can see, I think someone put up the post today on Twitter and it was literally going through and there's no circle ending within like half a kilometer of the East Coast, like the entire way. Like it's literally just, there's no reason to be over there because it's never going to end there, that you might as well fight one circle earlier inland because at least that way you have a chance to win the game. Which I think was an interesting concept. Now, on that note, what about the vehicle situation? Do we want Sanhok to be something where we have long vehicle rotations and teams holding vehicles? Or do we want to adapt this map in a way that it is more foot combat? Like, is that something that, do we want it to be like the other maps where everyone's keeping cars inside walls trying to protect tires and then crashing later? Or is it one of those things where we'd rather have those wooded fights? Like, obviously, we might have an opinion one way or the other, but if PUBG Corp's trying to push the ladder, then are you guys okay with that? Or do you think that's too much of like an RNG situation?
I think the meta will decide. Like, we're not even sure that vehicles are good on Sanhok, right?
Right.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
you
No,
give
for
away your
sure.
positioning, and it's a lot of times it's better to just be sneaky and find a good fight that you can win, and not try not to get third partied. But that's kind of like what I think. But also, like, correct me if I'm wrong. Is there an esports spawn in Cave, the 2-seater bike? Is that a
Yo,
real thing?
what? Why is everyone bringing up our bike, bro?
I'm just saying.
Just like,
So-
Tanner,
so-
Tanner.
so that-
shh,
that-
shh.
I mean, yeah, you. What do you think? I don't do my research.
Shut your mouth, bro.
No. So what I would like to bring back, and I know it's a little bit off of the topic, but it kind of more the one previously. But you could rebalance if PUBG had someone to bring in, who's completely unbiased and on all maps could look at where teams are likely to loot, because it's pretty set, right? There's
Mhm.
like 16. There's probably 20 spots on the other two maps where people loot, and the 16 teams are going to go to one of those 20 spots
Right.
almost always. So why not balance? That the edges get a little bit better loot. The center gets one less car spawn. You can make Pachinki a little worse.
You
know what I
can,
mean? Like,
right. You can nerf
you
it.
can balance things to where if you're looting away, because we know that center historically, maybe it's not as much anymore in this current meta, at least not in EU, but center has historically been better to loot.
Right.
They have less vehicles. They don't have as much 3 vests. They don't have, like, that's something that if we really cared about competitive PUBG would have been done a year ago, or could still potentially be done. But like, those are all things that, have they even been looked at? Like, are we going to do that? Is that something that everyone thinks would be viable? Like, that, to me, it just makes sense, and I don't think anyone would have an issue with it. Now the problem becomes you have to get the right person who actually knows the game and knows how to balance one, so you're not giving, just this team United something better than Ghost or vice versa. But like, that's kind of something that I think is easier to fix. Going back to the bootcamp thing that Tiggleton was saying, you're buffing bootcamp or whatever. There's things that you can do. You can give them less benefit, less scopes maybe, or that kind of stuff. So like, there's a bunch of different things we can look at, and do more like creative problem solving than just saying, screw water, or screw
Yeah,
water,
yeah.
or, fill in the water.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, that used to be a
Make
thing,
it
like,
one
"I fill in
island,
the
right?
water."
Yeah. Why is there a river? Just make it land. Yeah. That was a very interesting point. I actually really like that, because I do think there's a lot of ways that you can, try and somehow alter, for example, a military team on Orangel. Like, I know that's a situation that it used to be so popular because the loot was so good. Now it's pretty even, and I feel like a military team is consistently at a distinct disadvantage to the rest of the teams in the lobbies, unless the circle goes there, obviously, but coming across the bridge and stuff like that. And maybe that is, maybe they need to be handed an extra 2-seater or 2 to make it a little bit easier for them to blast across the bridge and not get obliterated, or something like that.
What's the
BRDM?
Yeah. Like, give them I don't give a shit. Like,
Yeah.
like, no one wants to loot military. If anyone wanted to loot military, the priority teams would go there. They're obviously not, so everyone knows there's something wrong with it. So give them something that, spices everything up.
Incentivizes it a little bit.
Exactly. Thank you. Good words.
Yeah, dude.
That
Hey,
was fire.
hey, I dropped out of college, but I went. All right. So I got a little bit there. Now, in that regard, utility, I think, was, a lot of people brought that up. Tanner obviously brought that up before. Like, I think that's one thing. Like, I feel like that's just a multiplier. You just type that in, just make that number bigger. Because I do think in a lot of situations right now, like, I see a lot of teams stuck, it's like, well, I can't cross this road. Like, what am I supposed? I have one smoke. There's 4 of us. We're dead. Like, there's nothing we can do.
Right.
So I think that would definitely be something that would instantly solve some problems and make it a little less RNG on who is closest to center or the game end. Now, do we think that we need any of the area there altered, remastered, or are we fine with the setup and let's worry about spawns, circles, and things of that nature. And let's keep it kind of how it is. I know we talked, like DrasseL said, a little bit about the Northwest, and the mountain being a little strong. But do we think that like splitting boot camp in half and trying to shift that a little bit, or changing some of those rice fields that are little like staircases or something along those lines, or is that just a situation of learn the map and play the map how it lies?
I think a really bad part of Sanhok, like the biggest issue for me, this is kind of like niche, but it's the grass render distance removing, like, I don't know what to call it. It looks a bit like kelp. It's like long ass grass. You get it like frequently in Sanhok. And if you're trying to peek someone from your position, you get like body height grass.
The kelp.
Yeah, but then
Fix the kelp.
they don't see the grass. Yeah.
Yeah. So you just get like absolutely destroyed. It's actually like unpeakable. I think that's an issue in a lot of positions in Sanhok.
I think they can go through and just completely alter all the grass and bushes for that. Like, because I mean, there are spots where like you're just not even there.
Especially with the banana suits.
Yeah.
The banana suits are like, I don't think they should be on land client, to be honest. I would rather everyone have to wear like darker clothes than the banana suit.
Well, it used to be.
I don't know, but that's a good question. I don't know about you guys. We were supposed to originally have to wear like the Pell suit for phase 1 or
that would be cool. That would be
cool.
Phase 2.
When did they add the banana suit?
It's like one of the first crates they released.
Yeah, but they didn't have it on LAN, and they didn't have it on event server for a while, I don't think. Until maybe preseason? Because I don't remember having it at other events, because I remember everyone was told, hey, you can't be naked, so they all had to wear just like the white t-shirts and like the normal jeans, and that was the only rule.
Yeah, Prim said to me that on event server and LAN client, they always added the newest clothes. Because I asked her about why the lampshade was in the game, like the freaking
Right.
I was like, why? Like, of all the hat choices, why would you add the freaking lampshade?
Yeah, no, for sure.
And that was her response to me. So it doesn't make much sense to me that the banana suits would be in, but the lampshade would also be in. Like, I don't know, man.
We'll get the clown outfit soon.
Shouldn't that be a thing? That's like basic. Like, shouldn't everyone be required to wear the same clothes? That was why we used to do the naked thing in the first place, right?
I mean, I think so.
I mean, so the first event I ever played at, everyone had to be naked because there was people who were wearing different clothes and they would match each other's clothes and then they just wouldn't kill each other.
Really?
And it was it was like that was the solo event in Korea that we played in, and like one of the teams, I don't remember who it was, and I don't want to misquote them, but I think they all 4 took off their clothes. Everyone else had clothes on, but so then they knew it was their teammates because we were playing solos, and they wouldn't kill each other, and they would just go the other way. So, like, shouldn't everyone have to, like, this should be a long time ago. Everyone's wearing the same thing, right?
Yeah. I don't care too much about like player models and stuff, but I think general outfits, like I think it's a little strange with the banana suits and everything. Like I think it's a little much. I would rather just see everyone, and like even from a spectating point of view, like if I'm watching the stream, it's kind of weird seeing everyone like dressed in full yellow. Like that kind of takes a little.
I don't
bit
know.
Of that aspect
like
away
what's
from
the whole thing behind the banana suit? Like, is it like wearing it? Does it give you an advantage or something? Or
it's the thought of. It's harder to see on what is the setting?
I have no issue.
The digital vibrance.
Yeah, with the digital vibrance up. I don't know what happened to Tig. He fell. There was an earthquake. I don't know. Yeah. It was a digital vibrance up. Made it more difficult to see players wearing the banana suit on Miramar and grass or some shit like that. But yeah. So that was. I don't know. It was. I don't think it helps that much because I don't think we've had too many situations where like I've seen somebody be like, oh yeah, if he wasn't wearing the banana suit, we wouldn't have seen them. Like I don't remember ever thinking that.
It's when you turn your digital vibrance up, it blends similar colors. So if a yellow is close to a green color and you have high digital vibrance, it's
more difficult.
They will like actually like look identical. They change. They like morph into each other.
Yeah, I would like to see a little uniformity there, between player outfits and
or
here it is. Yeah,
they should.
Team,
because then everyone knows who that team is instead of just.
But do we want everyone to know who that team is?
I think that they should do something where it's like they make like a league outfit, like something along the lines of like the NPL jacket, but not something like so just dumb and like flashy. Just something normal looking with like an NPL logo on it, for example, like PL logo. just something simple that everyone would have to wear.
Yeah, I'm surprised that we didn't all have to wear the NPL jacket, to be honest, because that
Yeah.
makes sense to me.
The you can't wear the teams. You can't have the teams.
Yeah, I don't like
stuff, because
wearing the
then you
team
could loot
thing.
their shirt or loot whatever.
Oh,
And
that's
you
all right. Wait, no, now I like it.
Wait,
Wait, hold on. That just completely
What?
changed my mind because I was sitting there thinking, I don't want everybody to know it's us, but then it's like, oh, you can pick up their shirt, and then I'm like, hold on a second. Tig gets killed, Shrimsy picks up his shirt, and then he's running around, and everyone's like, oh, it's the Soniqs guy. Soniqs is over here. That I kind of like. But at the same time, yeah, I would rather have uniformity because I don't think you should know who a team is based on seeing them. I don't like that.
I mean, that is a current problem for us, at least. Is some people in Pell, they're the only ones that use that. So, oh, that's X player. Oh, that's
Right.
Kanan somehow just knows like 50% of the players. He scopes in. He's like, oh, it's United. It's like, all right, like it's already a problem.
Yeah, because they have
Yes.
one of their players wearing the yellow shirt, but I mean that's the
Yeah.
player
Yeah.
just
is
being dumb, I
fair.
It's
guess.
stab.
Yeah.
It's stab. I know.
Exactly.
It's stab.
Yeah. Shrimsy wears the purple.
It's like you see,
And the
I don't know,
pilot
it's like
pants.
playing scrims and stuff all the time. You see a trend, people wear the same clothing. And it's
Yeah.
like I see the same shit in MPL, so it's like, okay, I know where everyone is or like who that person is.
Yeah, we
Mhm.
definitely have that where we just call it all the time. We're like, oh, it's, stuff though. Yeah, no, I would definitely prefer, uniformity there. I think that would be something that would be helpful moving forward, and I think would be something that we should move forward with rather than having the clown fiesta that we have of players knowing who others are, everyone wearing the yellow suit. And to be honest, if everyone's wearing the banana suit because when you have digital vibrance up, it makes you harder to see, then you shouldn't be able to wear the banana suit.
Right.
That makes sense in my head to
I mean, at least everyone can, right? Like you can choose it. I mean, it's not like it's limited. That would be an issue with jerseys, right? Like if everyone had jerseys,
Mhm.
then one team's color is better than the other.
Yeah.
But I do have a question for dGon. I want to know from a caster's perspective if how it is to cast Sanhok. If it's if you find it easier or better, or doesn't really matter. Is the action because it's happening quicker? Is that more beneficial to a caster?
Yeah, so I've done only 4 maps of it so far, right? That have been broadcasted, and it's just the way that we have it set up is it's Erangel, Miramar, Sanhok, Miramar, Erangel,
Yeah.
and to go from how slow Miramar can be to how fast we know the dominoes fall in Sanhok, I think that's already been a bit of a stark adjustment and a stark change in terms of like how you feel, because it's like, all right, this halfway point and now people are just dying left and right, and then there's that like stop and go-ness of the map. But I think over the last couple of matches, it's been everyone's like no one's died until like circle 3, circle 4, and everyone's now kind of playing super slow until all of a sudden the dominoes fall again. So for me, it's great for me. I do go like fast with the play-by-play and do a little bit more of the hype casting. I think it's a lot harder for my color caster to have to go through that. It seems that Dustin's Godspeed has to really, I really try not to set him up to make something up on the spot, but he's like, this seems like it sucks. And to hear you guys have like varying opinions on the map, it seems okay, but it just seems like very chaotic and difficult to predict if the gunfight's going to happen near you, away from you, and if you're part of that domino effect and the whole decision tree process of, do we join in this fight and try to fourth party this and come out on top with 5 kills, or do we just wait until the last circle? That always seems to be the big question that we're looking to have answered every time I'm casting it.
Okay, yeah, there's definitely that moment, I think twice yesterday, where it was like where the circle shifted south across the road in MPL, and it was like, well, this is the moment everybody dies, and it was 25, 30 players dying in a minute
Oh
and a
yeah,
half.
there was 60 people alive. Second circle going to the third circle pop, and then it popped, and like 5 minutes later, there's like 30 players alive.
Yeah,
So
it
it's like-
was pretty, and it was, I mean, there was a fight where, you would get a knock, and I'm listening to, obviously, we get to listen to comms in NPL, which is the greatest thing ever. I'm listening to the comms and it's literally like, oh, I knocked this guy. Okay, this guy's Genesis. Okay, that guy's Lazarus. Oh, okay, that guy's Rumbler. Like, it's impossible to keep track of who is who next to you when there's 5 teams on top of each other and you're just knocking everyone. You know what I mean? So it is, and I couldn't imagine casting through that. The 20 players dying, like at a certain point, just list off the kill feed. You know what I mean? Just start reading. Yeah, this guy's dead. That guy's dead. This guy's dead. So that's definitely difficult to keep up with.
Isn't that stressful for you guys though? That like you could be a part of that domino effect, like, and it's like you don't really have much of a choice sometimes. It's like, well, we got to go now. We're in the middle of the rotation, circles away from us, and we know all hell's about to break loose here on the southwestern part of the northwestern shift. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, isn't that shitty?
It is a little shitty. But at the same time, that's not Sanhok exclusive. That's PUBG exclusive.
That happens on both maps.
Yeah,
or all
it's
maps, I should say.
it's like a butterfly effect. Some guy can flip his car circle 1, and then you die to him circle 3, because like blah blah blah.
It's behind you.
Like,
yeah.
That's just part of battle royale. That's like part of what you have to prepare yourself for. So although like on Sanhok it might seem amplified, I don't think it's actually that bad.
Yeah, I do.
The good teams find a way. Sorry.
No, go
ahead.
No.
Okay, the good teams find a way to maximize points in that situation, right? They know they're
Right.
fucked and they go for
Right,
getting kill
exactly.
points.
And that's exactly what I was gonna say. Where it's kind of like you have to have the ability to just declare yourself dead. Where it's like, we're never getting it. This isn't happening. Like, there's no way. So let's go. We're just running over everybody. And I think you see a lot of teams. I think Riot Squad was a perfect example this past weekend. They've been performing out of their minds, and it's not like they're in endgame all the time winning games. Like, they're literally they're in the clusterfuck of like almost every game, it seems like. But every single time, they're the team just running through the wall and just trying to get as many kills as they can. Even if they're gonna die, they're still trying to get out with 6-7 kills. And they're, even on bad games, they have 4 or 5 points like every single game, and that's why they're sitting there in such a good position right now, this far into MPL. Now, gentlemen, we actually ran over. I thought it would be way quicker than that, but we are over an hour 30 already. So I do want to begin to wrap things up. It was a pleasure having you all here. I think here's what the plan will be. We will have new topics coming up next Monday. We'll see what they are. It depends what happens, because we have a lot of competitive stuff going on this weekend. PL, NPL will wrap up. We're going to start seeing who's going to Worlds and things of that nature. So it should be very, very exciting. Very quickly, I want to run through the 5 of you. Please plug the shit out of yourselves in every facet. Give everybody a little reminder of who you are and all that. And then we'll sign off. dGon, start with you, please.
Yeah, I'll be up at ESL 1 New York this weekend for PUBG Mobile. So good luck to all you guys this weekend. Won't be able to watch as much. We'll be at the Barclays Center. So if any of you guys, for whatever reason, are watching NPL and find yourself in New York, come say hi. I'll be over there. You can find me at dGon on Twitter. That's mainly what I use. And hopefully you guys can help me get a check mark at some point on Twitter.
Hey, we're going to rally the check marks. Don't worry.
2587. But otherwise, catch me in Godspeed, NPLC. I'm a fan of all the teams except teams that play like pussies. So, the fact that I get to sit up here and chat with you guys is pretty awesome. So, anything you guys need or you ever want to talk about anything, let me know. I'm here.
Well, I really appreciate you being here. DrasseL, sir.
My Twitter is DrasseL. My Twitch is DrasseL as well. I stream PUBG daily. I'll also be competing in NPL this weekend, so make sure you guys watch that on Play Battlegrounds Twitch channel.
Perfect.
DrasseL TV on YouTube and Instagram, and creator code DrasseL when you're gonna buy Borderlands 3 because PUBG kind of sucks sometimes. So go play yourself some Borderlands, man.
Creator code DrasseL. Hate to see it. Sharky,
Hey, it didn't work.
Sharky, please go ahead.
Follow me on Twitter at Sharky, and my Twitch is just Sharky.
Shark Yeet. Which I still hope you don't change.
Yeah, I'm probably never gonna change it.
Good. I like that a lot. Brother Tiggleton.
Yeah, I'm on Twitch at TGLTN. I stream daily, and my Snapchat, James full stop Almighty.
Are you... Wait,
Full
what?
stop almighty.
Is that a premium? Is that a premium Snapchat or?
Yeah, 100%.
Real quick, why TGLTN?
So the full handle I want is Tiggleton, Tigelton.
Yeah.
And that's not legit backwards, but I can't get that handle anywhere. So I just made it an abbreviation, TGLTN.
It's not legit. Okay, someone said that to me. It's completely
Not
forgot.
legit backwards.
Not legit backwards. That's how we got them. Then he took
'Cause
out
it's
all
Probably
cheaper.
some
the
clown like clown
Exactly.
child show in Australia, and it like impacted your life, and his name was Tiggleton.
and then he took out all the vowels. It was a whole thing. All right,
Yeah.
brother 17, please.
Yeah, at 17 on Twitter, and you can find all my other socials through that.
Guys, good
Thank you
luck.
for having me,
Obviously,
Max.
yeah.
Appreciate
No,
it.
it was fantastic. It was a good time. I honestly thought we would talk for way less time, but then the clock kept moving, and now it's almost 4:00. So I really appreciate everyone being here. Obviously, this is a scope with me, Jabroni. That's me. We'll be live here again next week, same time, same place, twitch.tv/Jabroni. Please watch this on fucking YouTube and give it a goddamn like, because YouTube is king as far as I'm concerned now. I've completely turned. I'm a big YouTube, putting shit on YouTube supporter. So make sure you guys watch it tomorrow, share it, and all that good stuff. That being said, I love you all. Have a great fucking day, and I'll see you guys later.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Bye.